On a bustling afternoon in Los Angeles, an unsuspecting elderly diner becomes the victim of a pickpocket at a local restaurant. The determined restaurant owner pursues the thief through the crowded streets, but as the chase seems hopeless, an unexpected hero emerges, none other than Keanu Reeves, who steps in to save the day in a remarkable way. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the Hollywood restaurant where Arthur Mitchell, 78, sat alone with his coffee. His weathered hands trembled slightly as he reached for his wallet to pay the check, a motion that didn't go unnoticed by the disheveled man watching from outside. The thief had chosen his target carefully over weeks of observation. Arthur was a creature of habit, always alone, always paying in cash. Today would be the day. Moving with practiced stealth, the thief slipped inside and struck. In one violent moment, he shoved Arthur's chair, sending the elderly man crashing to the floor. Amid the chaos of screaming diners and toppling dishes, the thief snatched Arthur's wallet and phone. Timothy Ratcliffe, the restaurant owner, heard the commotion from outside. Seeing Arthur sprawled on the ground and the thief fleeing, he gave chase without hesitation. His feet pounded the pavement as he pursued the assailant through the busy streets, driven by rage at seeing one of his most beloved customers attacked. Back in the restaurant, Arthur lay dazed on the floor, his ribs throbbing where they'd struck the ground. Around him, the concerned voices of other diners blurred together as shock began to set in. As soon as the man collapsed, other patrons rushed to his aid, advising him to stay still in case of hidden injuries. Nearby, a woman frantically called emergency services, explaining they needed both the police and an ambulance. To comfort Arthur as he lay on the floor, someone placed a jacket over him. Despite the midday LA heat, he shivered, still in shock from the assault and the fall. For anyone, such an ordeal would be difficult. At Arthur's age, it was especially perilous. The diners recognized this and kept him talking, fearing he might slip into unconsciousness. But all they could do was wait for the ambulance, hoping he'd pull through. Out on the bustling streets, Timothy was gaining on the thief, his determination hardening with every step. Just as he was about to tackle him, the thief spun around and landed a punch on Timothy's face. Stunned but resolute, Timothy gritted his teeth, lunging forward to take the man down. They grappled fiercely on the pavement, their struggle echoing off nearby buildings as a curious crowd began to gather, unsure of the fight's origin. One young waiter, who had trailed behind Timothy, was ready to intervene when a familiar figure stopped him. Keanu Reeves, casually dressed in a fitted black shirt and shorts, walked by, his commanding presence turning heads. He paused, taking in the scene with sharp intensity. Recognizing the urgency, he sprang into action, cutting through the crowd toward the scuffle. He turned to the stunned waiter, raising his eyebrows as if to ask for an explanation. Shaking off his surprise, the waiter explained how the thief had robbed an elderly man, prompting Timothy to chase him down. Keanu nodded and moved swiftly toward the men, kneeling beside the struggle. Timothy was visibly exhausted. He wasn't in peak shape and had already taken a hit. The thief was on the verge of breaking free, and Timothy hadn't even realized that Keanu Reeves had entered the fray. Just as the thief wriggled out of Timothy's grip, almost upright, Keanu grabbed him by the collar with impressive strength, pulling him back with ease. Timothy released his hold, sitting back breathless and dazed, finally noticing who had come to his aid. Could it really be Keanu Reeves stepping in to help? The young waiter quickly supported Timothy, helping him to his feet. "Is that?" Timothy asked, his voice filled with astonishment. The waiter grinned and nodded. Despite the throbbing in his cheekbone, Timothy couldn't help but smirk at the surreal turn of events. This chase had taken a twist he'd never expected. Keanu seemed to have everything under control, and as Timothy faintly heard the distant wail of sirens, he decided to take a moment to witness the thief finally get what he deserved. Stunned by Keanu's sudden intervention, the thief barely had time to react before the actor smoothly maneuvered him onto his stomach and pinned him down with a firm grip on the back of his neck. The crowd gasped, and even Timothy, caught off guard, watched in awe. It was remarkable enough for anyone to step in like that, but for a star like Keanu Reeves, it was almost unbelievable. The thief struggled, but there was no escaping. Keanu's years of training had made him a formidable opponent, but it wasn't just strength that kept the thief pinned down. It was the actor's deep sense of justice and respect for his elders. When the waiter had explained the theft, something inside Keanu had snapped. The man deserved to be held accountable, and Keanu was determined to ensure he stayed on the ground until the police arrived. As the sound of sirens grew louder, the thief's panic heightened, realizing he couldn't break free. Keanu's grip remained unyielding, a solid wall between the thief and any chance of escape. The crowd, initially stunned into silence, began murmuring and filming the scene with their phones. While the streets of LA were no strangers to celebrity sightings, this was an entirely new spectacle. Moments later, the police arrived, surprised by the size of the crowd. They quickly understood this was no ordinary situation. They needed to arrest the thief, manage the onlookers, and take statements. While some officers were already at the restaurant attending to Arthur, the gravity of the situation hit them all at once. When they saw who was detaining the thief, it was clear why there were so many people watching, but they never expected a movie star to be involved in the arrest. Keanu slowly released the thief as the officers took over. The man, still panting, was swiftly handcuffed and led away. Some officers began clearing the crowd, and soon only Keanu, Timothy, and the young waiter remained. Timothy turned to Keanu, gratitude shining in his eyes. Words escaped him, but his nod of appreciation said it all. Keanu simply smiled. Timothy knew he had to explain why stopping the thief had meant so much, beyond the injustice done to the elderly man. "Arthur's one of our best customers. He means a lot to us all. We just wanted to do right by him," Timothy said. "Well, he's lucky to have people who'd go to such lengths for him," Keanu replied. "I hope he's okay." With that, Keanu turned toward the officers, ready to give his statement and slip back into his quiet, unassuming life. He didn't seek recognition or glory for his actions. After all, Timothy had played a crucial part in stopping the thief. Keanu had just done what he believed was right. As the officers began gathering witness statements, Keanu faded back into the crowd, his role now complete. He wasn't entirely unnoticed, though. Timothy watched as the actor disappeared back into the streets of Hollywood, knowing he would probably never witness anything like this again. Though part of him wanted to learn more about Keanu, his priority now was to check on Arthur. After all, Arthur was the one who truly mattered in this situation. When Timothy returned to the restaurant, he was relieved to see that more officers and an ambulance had arrived to assist Arthur. As the shock began to fade, Arthur appeared much better, though he was still being taken to the hospital for a thorough checkup. It was safer for him to be checked, especially given his age. Timothy offered to go with him, knowing that Arthur had no one else to lean on. Plus, he was eager to tell Arthur about the incredible events that had unfolded and the unexpected hero who had come to his aid. Timothy knew Arthur might struggle to believe it, but it was sure to bring some light to the situation. Luckily, Arthur received a clean bill of health, with only some bruising to show for it. Although the incident had rattled him, he was determined not to let it defeat him. His visits to the restaurant had become one of his few joys, and the staff had become like a family to him. Even he was touched by how everyone had rallied around him. During his recovery, Timothy made a point to bring him cards and meals every day, telling him that the staff was eagerly waiting for him to return when he felt ready. These small gestures lifted Arthur's spirits and encouraged him to keep moving forward. Although it would have been easy to withdraw after the attack, he refused to live in fear. He wanted to get back to the restaurant, surrounded by friends and appreciating life again, never forgetting the kindness he had received. Arthur hadn't witnessed the heroic intervention himself, but he heard all about it from Timothy, and he could hardly believe that a celebrity like Keanu Reeves had stepped in to help. Inspired by what had happened, Timothy decided to organize a community event at the restaurant to promote awareness and safety. He wanted to create a space where people looked out for one another, just as he had for Arthur. The story about Keanu and Arthur spread quickly, and no one could have predicted the incredible turnout for the event. In the middle of it all was Arthur, leading the way and encouraging people of all ages to embrace the community spirit. Timothy was amazed at how well Arthur had recovered. Over the years, Arthur continued to visit the restaurant, sharing stories and laughter with Timothy and the people who had supported him. The staff, who had always been kind, now shared an even stronger bond with Arthur. He no longer felt like just a regular customer. He felt like part of the family. Their connection went beyond a simple hello and order. Now there was time for deeper conversations, and Arthur often offered wisdom to help them with life's challenges. The little restaurant might not have been as flashy as some others in Hollywood, but it had something far more meaningful: love and respect. Despite the trauma of the theft, Arthur had never felt more secure among his friends than he did now. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think of this story? How would you have reacted if you saw a thief targeting an elderly person? And how would you have felt if a movie star had stepped in to help? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.